Home Studio Start podcast.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive, brought to you by the Home Studio Start podcast. If you're a home studio hero, well, you probably know the feeling. You hit record, it all sounds great in the moment, and then you play it back, and those pesky audio noise gremlins decided to show up, pops, buzzes, hisses, that whole annoying bunch. It really feels like they have a mind of their own sometimes, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And if you've ever found yourself listening back thinking, wait, did I record this next to an old air conditioner or is that just my track?
Yeah.
Then yeah, you're in the right place. These little sonic intruders, they can mess things up fast, turn a great take into, well, abstract noise art. So our mission today in this deep dive is basically to navigate this mysterious world of audio noise. We want to help you figure out how to banish them strategically, get that crisp, clean sound we're all after. Because, like we always say over at Home Studio Start, more control, high quality.
Exactly. And that's not just some slogan we cooked up. It's really the core of it today. By the time we're done here, the goal is you'll understand these audio invaders and know how to, well, kick them to the curb. Leave nothing behind but, beautiful silence where the noise used to be. So grab your headphones, maybe something to take notes, and let's dive headfirst into figuring these things out and conquering them. All right, so let's really get into this buzzing world of audio noises. Before we can even think about fixing things, it's super important to know what kind of noise you're actually up against. Each one's kind of like a different bad guy, needs its own plan of attack.
That's spot on.
Yeah.
And it's, it's kind of fascinating how different they are. Diagnosing the right one, that's like half the battle right there.
Mm-hmm.
So first up, let's talk about saturation, or maybe more accurately in digital audio. Clipping. Instead of just like overflowing a glass, imagine you're trying to capture a sound digitally, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the sound wave itself, its level, it pushes past the absolute maximum your gear or software can even handle. It's not just loud. The actual waveform gets like flattened, clipped off at the top and bottom.
Whoa. Okay. So it's not just making it sound bad. It's like a piece of the sound is actually physically missing, cut off.
Precisely. That flattening. It creates this really harsh, nasty distortion, adds all these weird harmonics that weren't even in the original sound. And here's the kind of sad part about clipping.
Yeah.
It's pretty much unrecoverable. Once that digital information is gone, once the waveform is just destroyed, like there's no magic fix it button, you've literally lost that dynamic range. Gone.
Yeah.
Unrecoverable. Okay, got it. So that's the real point of no return. But what about the sneakier ones, the ones that don't totally wreck the signal, but just hang around?
Right. That's where you often run into things like the cosmic hiss, universal white noise.
Okay.
It's that constant kind of low-level static you might hear, like when there's no actual signal going in, almost like background noise from, well, space.
Yeah.
It's super common, actually, especially with certain preamps or circuits. We usually only start getting serious about tackling it if it's louder than, say, Nick's 50 decibels relative to full scale, dBFS. Below that, it usually just kind of fades into the background noise of most rooms anyway.
Okay, so a tiny bit of hiss isn't necessarily a disaster. It's just there sometimes. But then, focusing back on our actual rooms, our studios, we've got RF interference. Radio frequency noise. This is that invisible enemy, right? Caused by all the radio waves just zipping around us constantly. Phones, Wi-Fi, radio stations.
It's exactly right. And RF interference isn't just some generic buzz usually. Often it has these patterns you can almost recognize, like maybe a rhythmic pulsing sound when your phone gets a text. Or sometimes it's a distinct high-pitched whine, maybe from computer parts or a dodgy power supply. And get this, there's this famous story. RF interference actually made an accidental appearance on a huge artist's album, slipped onto the vinyl master, sold to millions of people who had no idea.
Wow, that's wild. But okay, what's the practical lesson for us from that?
Well, it's not just a weird anecdote, right? It's a serious reminder that even the pros can miss this stuff sometimes. For us, it means we got to train our ears to hear what kind of noise it is. Does it change when your phone's near the gear? Does it react when you, turn on a light dimmer? That's your first clue to where it's coming from.
Okay.
And yeah, often you can actually get rid of these guys before you even press record.
Which kind of leads us to another really common one, often gets confused with RF. How's hum different, and why does it seem to pop up so much in home setups?
Good question. So while RF can be kind of all over the place frequency-wise, hum is almost always this low-frequency rumble, typically right at 50 or 60 hertz, depending on where you live, or maybe double that, like 120 hertz. It's directly tied to your building's electrical power, usually caused by ground loops. That's basically when your gear has multiple paths to electrical ground, creating this little current loop that injects noise. It sounds different from RF because it's that steady, specific low note tied right to the AC power.
Gotcha. So steady low rumble, probably hum. Something weirder, more erratic, maybe changes with other devices, could be RF. That distinction is really key. Okay, so now we've kind of ID'd the main culprits. How do we actually fight back? What are the high-tech weapons for cleaning up recordings that already have this noise?
Excellent question. Now that you can spot your enemy, the good news is there's quite a range of sophisticated software tools out there designed just for cleaning this stuff up. When you're looking at tools for removing noise from audio you've already recorded, yeah, you've got some really potent options.
So what's kind of top of the list? What are the heavy hitters for this kind of post-production cleanup?
Well, one category is dedicated noise reduction plugins. Sometimes these come bundled with professional DIW's digital audio workstations. You might see things labeled DirectX plugins like Noise Reduction 2.0 that comes with SoundForge Pro. For folks who know VST or AU plugins, DirectX is just another type, often found in Windows systems, really tightly integrated for detailed audio work. Mastering engineers often rely on tools like this to really polish tracks.
Okay, that sounds pretty serious. What about the plugins maybe more people have access to or have heard of, like from Waves?
Yeah, if you're exploring the world of Waves audio, they've got some great stuff for this. They have specific noise reduction tools like Z-Noise, X-Noise, and the W43 noise reduction plugin. These are really like precision instruments for digging out stubborn noises, hisses, hums, that kind of thing. They work incredibly well, but, and this is important, only if the noise isn't because of really severe data loss, like that clipping we talked about. Remember the point of no return. These tools can't magically recreate sound that's just totally gone.
Right. So they clean up, they don't resurrect destroyed audio. Makes sense. What if someone's maybe just starting out or, budget's a bit tight? Are there decent options that don't break the bank?
Definitely. Waves actually has a tool called Noise Suppressor. It's more affordable and great for simpler stuff like, that constant little hiss you might get from a microphone preamp sometimes. Perfect for that. And even in that range, their X-Noise tool has quite a few features. It's designed to handle more complex buzzes and hums too, so it gives you a bit more power for trickier noises.
Okay, now, something a lot of people starting out used, myself included back in the day, is a free editor like Audacity. It does have some noise reduction. What's the real story there? Where does it work and where does it kind of fall short compared to these dedicated tools?
Yeah, Audacity. Look, you can definitely help with basic constant noise like a steady hiss. You capture a noise profile of just the hiss and it tries to subtract it. It's a fantastic way to start learning, no doubt. But for more complex noise or noise that changes over time, it often struggles. You can easily end up with weird artifacts, kind of watery or swishy sounds if you push it too hard. It can degrade the audio you're trying to save. And honestly, that really just underlines why prevention is so important.
Exactly. Which brings us nicely to that old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, especially in audio. Stopping noise before it even gets into your recording, that can save you so much headache, maybe even save takes that would otherwise be unusable. So let's talk about being proactive.
Yes. This is where we really shift gears, right? From reacting to noise to just stopping it from happening in the first place. And your absolute first line of defense here is proper grounding. You've probably heard people talk about grounding your gear. It's not just hype. It's really fundamental. Good electrical grounding can seriously cut down on that RF interference we mentioned and those annoying hums too. Think of it like giving your whole studio setup a shield against those invisible noisy waves and unwanted electrical currents. Grounding your computer, your interface, anything involved in capturing audio, make that a priority.
That makes total sense. And speaking of connections, something often overlooked are the actual physical links or cables.
Oh, absolutely. Cables, they're kind of the unsung heroes, aren't they?
Yeah.
Using good quality, well-shielded cables, super important for carrying a clean signal. But it's not just about buying expensive ones. It's also about how you treat them. Check your cables regularly. Look for nicks, cuts, any damage. Even tiny breaks in the shield can let noise sneak in. And protect them. Don't let them get crushed under chair wheels or stepped on constantly. Treat them with care. Also think about balanced versus unbalanced cables. Using balanced connections, like XLR or TRS cables, they're naturally much better at rejecting noise, especially over longer distances. That can make a huge difference with hum and buzz, even if your grounding is good.
That is a really great insider tip right there. And it kind of hammers home the point that just throwing money at fancy gear won't magically fix noise issues. I've definitely seen people buy amazing equipment but still have problems because they ignored basic stuff like cables or grounding.
That's such a critical point. Even those really advanced noise suppressor circuits built into some gear, if you misuse them or rely on them too heavily, They could sometimes actually strip away the good stuff, the nuances that make your audio sound real and have character. They can make things sound kind of sterile or overprocessed if you're not careful. So the moral really is, handle your gear properly, understand how signals flow, and don't just assume expensive automatically means noise-free. Smart setup beats expensive setup often. Okay. All right, home studio folks, let's pause for a sec. We've talked tools, we've talked prevention, but there's something maybe even more powerful, like your ultimate weapon against noise. And that's education. Just knowing your stuff.
Totally. This is where things get really transformative, I think. Education is kind of like your sonic magic wand. Imagine not just being able to clean up a noisy recording, but actually understanding why it happened and how to stop it next time. That's what really digging into audio production gives you, the power to minimize noise before it even starts. It's a serious investment in your craft, you know?
Yeah.
It pays off constantly.
Yeah, it's about becoming proactive, right? Not just reacting, like being the Sherlock Holmes of your own studio noise mysteries.
Exactly. Sherlock Holmes, I like that. When you have that knowledge base, you can make smart choices that just keep noise out from the get-go. You start seeing the whole process differently, which leads to a question, right? How much better does it feel to not panic when you hear something weird, to actually be able to figure out what it is?
Oh, it's incredibly empowering. Like if you're well-versed in this stuff, you can troubleshoot way more effectively. Hear a hum, instead of just randomly unplugging things, you can think, okay, sounds like 60 hertz, probably a ground loop, and start checking connections methodically. Or if it's that weird pulsing RF noise, you know to look at your phone or Wi-Fi router. Knowing the difference guides your troubleshooting, like a pro.
I really can't stress enough how valuable that is. Having the know-how to solve these technical problems yourself. Nothing should stand between you and getting great audio quality, especially not some fixable buzz or hiss. Your knowledge truly becomes your best tool. It lets you keep your recordings clean and clear right from the start.
Absolutely. When you're armed with that understanding and you train your ear, you don't just make your final product sound better, you actually preserve the quality and integrity of the original recording itself. Keep it true to what you intended, without all that distracting noise.
Yeah.
And
Well, there you have it, everyone. Our deep dive into the sonic landscape of unwanted noise. We've met the gremlins, we've figured out their tricks, and hopefully you're feeling equipped with the tools and wisdom to show them the door. As we wrap up, just remember, pretty much every single person recording at home runs into some static now and then. It's just part of the process, part of learning to make audio gold. It really is. Trust the tools, trust the tips we shared today, but most importantly, trust your own growing skills. Trust that you can create recordings that sound clear and professional. And please, keep learning, keep experimenting. Audio is definitely part art, part science. There's always something new to figure out. If you want to keep digging deeper, check out resources like the Home Studio Starts blog. Loads more great info there to keep you going.
yeah, with these new insights on tackling noise, I can just picture the smooth, clean recordings you're going to make. It'll be awesome to hear your stuff, noise-free.
And maybe here's a little thought to leave you with as you head back to your studio. It's not just about getting rid of the bad sounds, the noise. It's really about clearing the stage. Making space so the music, the voice, the message, whatever you want to share, can shine through clearly without distractions. So keep shaping your sound, keep aiming high for those noise-free recordings, and most importantly, just keep creating.
Until next time, may your recordings be clear, your edits sharp, and your sound always stay true to your vision. Good recordings.